Hello, welcome to late autumn. It's November on a very gloomy, miserable day, but inside the studio we're bringing the sunshine with some late chrysanthemums and bud vase arrangements. Today I want to show you some arrangements using bud vases. This is a really easy, quick technique for arranging flowers. I do it a lot and I think it's especially useful at this time of year because we don't actually have that many flowers now. The abundance of the garden's shrunk right back. And so using bud vases is a really nice way to honour what flowers we have left and to show them off individually. I'm using these absolutely beautiful bud vases that I've had made by a really talented local potter called Kate Spence. And these are all in a selection of different sizes and scale, and I very intuitively lay them across the table so your eye doesn't sit on a single one. I'm using these chrysanthemums. These are late autumn chrysanthemums. The ones in our gardens now have had it really. So these are ones that are grown in our polytunnel undercover now. We've got a really nice selection of maroon, orange, yellows, and then going a little bit into the sort of purpley pinks. And I wanted to use these along with some other pieces that I felt really said autumn. So some dried seed heads, my beloved crocosmia, and then a few pieces of branch. To use some dried material and talk you through why I'm using these particular pieces. Now, they are pieces that I've cut all year and dried them. And I think they will work really nicely with the chrysanthemums, and they give this nice sort of sense of end of season, like post-harvest, but definitely before the end of the year started using evergreens and red rose hips. So it's a real sense of late autumn. And then we're using pieces of honesty, definitely nods to the end of autumn into winter, and these really beautiful medlars, which are quite bruised and changing colour. I'm going to use these around the bottom of the bud vases on the table, particularly like these ones that have still got a leaf on them. So I'm going to use these pieces. I wanted to show you how you can take a very, very small bucket of flowers and use it potentially across a whole table. It could be a mantelpiece, entrance hall, anything. I also thought these colours were quite sort of Thanksgiving or Friendsgiving as well. Really good for the end of November. I'm not going to get too uptight about exactly where I'm going to place things. I'm going to work very intuitively, quickly, so you sort of get some confidence and sense of arranging with these flowers just before you have dinner or something, and just really enjoy what we've got left this year. So I'm keeping the arrangements all fairly low. I'm actually going to drop these down a bit. So if this was a table, you'd be able to sort of chat over the top of it all through the flowers with each person. And as usual, I'm looking at keeping all my flowers facing different directions and slightly different heights. So we just get that really nice rhythm down the table. I'm stripping a lot of the greenery from these flowers because I think green's quite a difficult one to work with in the autumn. A little nod's okay, but most of the leaves I'm taking off. Where am I going to stick that? That sort of talks to the pinky purple underneath that flower head. And I'm ripping all the leaves off this one. Right, I've got a few pieces of florist dill that have popped up, flowering, like lots of plants do. Sometimes find little surprises around the garden. I think that's quite a nice shape to have on here. Has a bit of interest. And then we've also got my beloved panicum, which now is drying really nicely. I'm going to take most of the leaves off because this, I think when it's on a table, you don't really want quite so much decaying leaves. Right, and of course if you're just using a dried piece, you don't actually need any water. And then I've got some branches. I'm going to rip the leaves off. I really like these knobbly buds on the edge of the branches. Right, and I want to talk to you about what I'm using. As usual, I want to talk about what I'm not using as well. Because I think sometimes what you don't use is as important as what you do use or what you leave out. And I've got this limonium here, but it's this white. I don't think works with everything else, being these small little flowers, in a way that this, one of my favourite little hedgerow foraged weeds, I've got this out of my spring border, this is called nipplewort. That brown looks really good. The honesty looks really good, I think, here. But this grass, way too brown and burnt, as is this limonium. So I'm going to leave both of those out. I'm just going to forget about those. So there you go. This is my late autumn and November tablescape using bud vases and the very last of some of our flowers this year. I hope you enjoy making this kind of thing as well, and we'll see you next week when we can begin the festivities.